Boom, 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 boom. Okay.
In any neurotypical world, that sentence would never ever happen. It's just
No.
crazy. It just makes me realize how crazy the condition is. But anyway, we're not here to talk about me. But yeah,
Okay, before I get into this, so you might have seen a video, a live stream I did with these two guys, Sky from Vegan, of course, and then Dan Shepard, who is Grumpy Vegan Grandad. So I stumbled upon this video that we're about to watch, and it's these guys for about an hour and a half tearing me apart, going through like 5 videos of mine talking about why I'm not a vegan and all these different things, and I asked them to do a talk, and they agreed to it, and we did a talk. And so you might have seen that talk, and that took place after this video, and not this video, but this video. And anyways, the talk was interesting. I I'm doing another talk soon with Grumpy Vegan Grandad. Maybe someday I'll talk to Sky. Sky does not. He claims that I'm not a vegan, and therefore he doesn't want to talk to me. So I think when he talked to me last time, it was just as a favor to Dan. And so, so I don't know if I'll talk to him again. He, in the talk where it was the three of us, he be unwilling to answer many questions. But I don't know how much of that was based on there being three of us, and it was kind of complicated to talk. So anyways, I'm going to talk to Dan again, hopefully soon. And Sky, if you want to talk again soon, let's go for it. But yeah, this video was very... I thought they misrepresented my ideas quite a bit. And so I want to just go over them and explain what maybe they missed in case somebody else views some of my takes the way they do. You can see like how I really feel about things. So let's do this. I probably won't do this whole thing, but I'll go over a big chunk of it.
I've had a really, really good 3 months. I'm enjoying
Well, this show is about you. I mean, we're broadcasting to 2 channels, and this show is about you. This is Hump Day, Grump Day, baby.
Yeah, well, it's been more prompted by somebody that I've been watching, and now here's a little proviso, right, people? We're not here to slag anybody's activism off, right? Nobody, no, every bit of activism is valid and crucial, right? But if the message is wrong, we need to worry, and this is why we're doing this today, because I feel the message is worrying.
Well,
And
I
I've
think that's
tried.
true. You say I support all activism for veganism for sure. I support all vegan activism. The problem that I have is that sometimes non-vegans end up in this weird thing that we're doing. And I mean, like, I went to a protest last weekend, and then after it, as we're walking by, there's people doing activism to kind of anti-trans activism, anti-gay activism. I don't support that activism. I support vegan activism, and I think this is where we're getting into a kind of a disagreement with the gentleman that you put in the thumbnail on your site.
I just want to say real quick. Yeah, he's saying we're not here to attack anyone, but we are attacking like the message that can be hurtful. I'm just going to throw out. Because I'm trying to imagine. Ever since I started my channel, I've been told I was vegan, not vegan, by like 50 different people. And almost all the vegan YouTubers I listen to, or at least the ones that I'm like in touch with, because we all have somewhat smaller channels. I hear them all call all people, like tons of people, not vegan. So all the people, a lot of the people that call me vegan will call other people not vegan. And then all the people that call me not vegan will call some people vegan. I don't think that's something I do. Not that that matters. I just don't do it. I don't think it's productive in any way. If somebody calls themselves a vegan, that's great. If somebody calls themselves a vegan and does something kind of strange, like I just don't get it. Like, so I know somebody. So I don't eat honey. I'm not like strongly against it, but I don't eat honey. I care way more about more other things in veganism than honey. But I know somebody that's vegan completely, except for he eats like a tablespoon of honey a month or something like that. I see no interest in anybody going out of their way to make sure anybody knows that person's not vegan. That's not a vegan. If that guy had a YouTube channel and he called himself a vegan, to go out of your way to call him not vegan, it just seems so pointless. And if he was sharing the vegan message and trying to help animals, to say that it's like harming the cause, I really feel like the only thing I could say that harms the cause would be anything that makes us look bad, anything that makes somebody go, oh, I don't want to be like those people. Now, if they just don't want to be like us because we don't eat animals, then that's not anything we can help. That's just them not agreeing with our stance. But if you could write a script of an idea about veganism and have one person say it and all these people would think like, oh, okay, I don't agree with that, but that guy seems nice. And then have another person say it, but the way they say it, somebody could say like, oh, that person's horrible, based on like tone or how it comes across or what you say in response to somebody's reaction to that. So yeah, that's kind of the only area I would point out of how activism could be bad is if it scares people away. I mean, the point is that anybody that harms animals, that we want to not harm animals, if we convince them to not do the good thing that we're doing, then that's bad. And if we convince them to, then that's good. So other than that, yeah, anyways, yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, it's no secret. It's reasonable vegan.
Yes.
William Lucas says, "I want to be around people that think reasonable vegan is beautiful as fuck." Not gonna lie.
It's beautiful AF.
Yeah.
I want to be around people that think reasonable vegan is beautiful. Well, I'm sure he's beautiful. I'm not really commenting on his looks. I mean, bald is beautiful, right? Don't you think, Dan?
You know what I mean?
Bald
I mean,
is beautiful.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just, I suppose all liberation vegan activism. Well, listen, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's have a look.
Where would you like to begin? Would you like to begin with a couple of examples?
Well, let me throw this up first.
Okay.
Right. Let me share this first because this is what sort of triggered more. Now, I just want to put something straight. Right. I've been watching this guy. I've watched his lives. I've watched his content, and I've been waiting to make up my mind. I haven't just gone, don't like him. Get.
I just saw this comment come up on here from Turning Veganese, AJ, and says a bunch of ha-ha-has. RV, reasonable vegan is terrible, ha-ha-ha. AJ is interesting. I mean, I get along with anybody, even if they're super douchey. But it's very interesting because the most recent debate I had with AJ, he agreed with everything I had to say. We talked about reduction, and we talked about crop deaths. And it's so entertaining. I need to just share this in the community section to get opinions, but yeah, he agreed with everything. But then the second he's done being face to face with me, he says the opposite, and that's what he said before the talk too. Which is why I was having the debate, and it turned into no debate. So it's very strange. People act really differently around different people. Okay. Anyways.
I've listened and watched, so
Oh, and I want to point out, it's great what Dan's saying. He didn't just like decide he did because one thing or whatever. He listened, he watched. That's really good. I think that's good. So I thank you for that.
then I put this up because it was like something that he'd done, and I did a reaction to it.
Let's see it.
Oh, there we go.
Monday, a good thing. Yes, it is.
To that other question about the meatless, one of the reasons why the egg industry in demand is going up is because a lot of the families, like one day a week, are having meatless dinners and are substituting eggs for that meatless meal. So that's another good reason why the egg consumption is going up in this country.
All right. So
This Monday, a good thing.
So
Yes.
All right, so that's the first refutation. What do you think, Dan? How do you feel about Meatless Monday?
Meatless Monday is right. Okay, so here's the thing.
Okay.
If somebody says to me, right, okay, I get it. I get the oppression. I get what it's all about. I understand veganism. It's not a diet. It's not an environmental standpoint. However, I can't go vegan overnight. I'm going to start with meatless Mondays. I'm going to work my way. Yes, there's nothing I can do about that. That's fine. If you're going to do it that way, you do it that way.
Awesome. That's my only stance.
But meatless Monday as an answer, as
That'd be dumb. Why? It shouldn't be an answer. No, I'm not saying you're dumb or whatever. I'm just saying if somebody looked at Meatless Monday as an answer, or at least as an ultimate answer, it's an answer in the sense that it's better than something else. But like if you got the vibe that you talk somebody into Meatless Monday, and then if you got the vibe that you could talk them into Meatless Monday and Tuesday, but then you go, no, Meatless Monday is my ultimate goal. Any further than that, I wouldn't like that. That'd be dumb.
As something to push as vegans, it's a big no-no.
Well, I guess like what you just described is kind of like goal oriented, right? Like if the goal, I used to be a defender of Meatless Mondays because I believed it was a great way to get people talking about the impact of a plant-based diet. And I feel like maybe I was wrong. I've had to reassess that because what ends up happening with Meatless Monday, people just go, well, I'm just meatless on Monday and that's it. That was my part that I did. And that should not be the goal. If that's the goal, then I'm out. I'm not interested. The goal saying like,
I don't know what you need to be out of, but yeah. So if somebody, let's say somebody like had set meals they were going to eat, the same meals, they knew exactly what they were going to eat. And the only difference was they removed all the animal products on one day. Even if that's what they said, that's all they're ever going to do. Whatever, like it's better than nothing. But as a thing towards pushing towards, I guess you only push towards it if there's nothing else you can get out of it. But like, I agree with what they're saying. I just don't get why they're acting as if I'm saying something wrong, because there's nothing I've said that isn't something like this. Because the main thing I usually point out if I talk about Meatless Mondays is that it's better than nothing. Even a meatless meal. Meatless Monday from noon to 1 p.m. is better than nothing. If you have any set time that you tell yourself, I'm not going to consume animals, that's better than nothing. Yeah.
You said, well, I'm going to start on Mondays and then I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, then I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like, how can you really argue with that? If the goal is veganism and abolition, fine. But if the goal is just to every Monday not eat flesh, but carry on with eggs and dairy and all the rest, and also the other 6 days of the week, then it's completely meaningless. And I think,
well, goal for who? It sounds like you're talking about the goal for the people that are eating Meatless Mondays. I thought you meant the goal for me as a person talking to an audience and getting them to go vegan or do Meatless Monday. So the goal to who really matters. But saying you're doing nothing means that you think if the ultimate goal isn't reached, then nothing's reached. And that's not true. If I have two cats in front of me and they're both going to be executed, but I can save one of them, the fact that the other one gets executed doesn't mean that nothing good happened. One of them was saved. So if somebody eats Meatless Monday for the rest of their lives, unless eating Meatless Monday makes them consume overall more than if they wouldn't have done Meatless Mondays or Vegan Mondays, whatever we want to call them, yeah. We all agree Meatless Mondays isn't the goal, though. It's hopefully a path to no more animal exploitation. Yeah, my problem with phrasing it this way is I don't know what the goal means. Now, if we just talk about the goal of veganism, even that has kind of an ultimate goal, but kind of not. Like the ultimate goal of being vegan might look something like not consuming meat, dairy, eggs, honey, not buying leather, fur, or buying makeup tested on animals, that kind of thing. That can be the ultimate goal of being vegan. The ultimate goal of veganism itself might be have to do with like a society's laws or something like that. But even then, like an ultimate goal, there's still so much more past that. Once you reach certain things, then you have this focus on laws about not breeding animals, which I don't know if that counts as a welfare law. So then people will be against it. I don't, whatever the silly thing is with a bunch of vegans being against welfare. But yeah, you have all these different things that can go into place, like different focuses on like zoos and all these kinds of things. Like in my mind, there's a lot of things to fight for, and you can have a sort of an ultimate goal for animals, which in my mind would just be humans not having any contact with animals. And that's kind of an ultimate goal. But if veganism kind of became what things like, if everybody just stopped eating meat, dairy, and eggs, then there would be an added element of an ultimate goal of now we'll start working on crop deaths. And we wouldn't be able to get all of it taken care of, but we could definitely, I'm sure vegans would focus heavily on crop deaths if the other stuff was taken care of. So anyways, I don't think there is an ultimate goal in a sense. I think we just like there's right and wrong things, and we want to work towards these things. And I believe that it's important to have veganism be a focus on animals, and therefore the ultimate goal there wouldn't include things like abortion and circumcision and all these other things. But I guess in my mind, assuming that some kind of ultimate goal of veganism won't be reached in my lifetime, I just want as much good as possible. I want as many vegans to exist as possible. I want as many non-vegans to do meatless Mondays as possible. I want as many cow eaters to go hunting and shoot deer instead of killing cows as possible. I want as many good actions to happen, and I want to try to help people get to that stage or whatever. And I didn't mean anything against what you were saying. I was just like sharing my thoughts on what goal means. But
just
I mean, we could
wrong-headed
look at veganuary, you know.
Another
Veganuary, you could say about it, but veganuary is a little bit different because veganuary, from what I can see, they do push animal ethics. You know, and it's a length of time for someone to look at the lifestyle and maybe go down that road. But
Veganuary also is about turning people vegan, right? Like their thing is always people who went vegan in Veganuary, how many of them turned vegan full, right? Like went and understood animal rights. But I don't know how effective it is. And that tactics are something we can debate. But if the goal is something that I'm not willing to debate, the goal is total abolition and liberation. That's the
yeah, I don't have any thoughts on what the goal is. RC said, reasonable vegan. Did you say you would like for people to shoot deer instead of eating cows? Yeah. I want less harm to happen. And so to me, when it comes to animals, the worst thing we do is making them suffer and having them enslaved. So we have factory farms where all these animals are crammed into small spaces, eating food oftentimes that isn't good for them, just to fatten them up, pumping them with hormones to make them taste differently, cutting off parts of their body to make the process easier for the farmers. And these animals live miserable lives. And then they're killed. Sometimes they're killed in horrible ways, and sometimes maybe they're killed quickly. So any of the misery they go through, including the killing, is the worst part to me. I don't want these animals to die. I've heard convincing arguments that if we could get away with it, we probably should do away with all animals in nature because of how much suffering they go through. And it seems reasonable, but I want to stay away from any of that. So ignoring that idea, I like the idea of animals existing out in the wild, doing their own thing. So I don't want animals to die, but I care a lot more about the suffering than I care about their existence. It's like a huge thing for me. And then separate from that, I don't want them to be killed. If there's no need to kill them, if humans do not need to consume animal products, I don't want them to be killed. And so you got a deer getting shot and eaten. You got a cow having a bolt to its head and eaten. And then the only difference for their lives are that the deer just has this probably decent life its whole life, and the cow is branded and dehorned and tails docked and crammed in a tiny cage and living this horrible life. So yes, if somebody eats meat and they're going to go buy beef at the store, but if they went hunting and got a deer and they were eating that, what do they call it, venison? Well, I'll just say deer. There's no reason to give. Okay, so they could go buy some cow at the store and they could go shoot a deer and eat deer. There is so much less suffering and misery happening, from my understanding, by having this deer that you consume. Now, if somebody was bad at hunting and made the deer suffer, and then they're bad at preparation and they wasted the deer and they were just doing it for trophy hunting or whatever, yeah, none of that's good. But if you're going to consume that deer and that's going to make you put that much less demand for beef, yeah, 100%. For my own sanity and simplicity, my goal is the end of factory farming. Yeah, no, Nikki, great point. I like that. That should be the ultimate goal. I think we should all focus on ending factory farming. And the really cool, badass thing about that is we could go to the streets and get all these non-vegans to agree with us. Now, they won't all necessarily vote for it and fight for it because they'll be worried that the cost of meat will go up if it's regenerative farming or hunting and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of laws, I think, would change if every vegan right now, instead of focusing on veganism, if they only focus on ending factory farming, I really think over the next 10, 15 years, we would see like a crazy amount of laws change, making lives better for animals and probably making more vegans on accident. You prefer RC says you prefer less suffering, but you would rather no suffering. That's correct. That's your view, right? Just wanted to confirm that you're not saying you're fine with hunters. No, I mean fine with is complicated because anything that could possibly be perceived as bad, it's complicated to say like you're fine with it. I'm currently in a house that I could probably live in a house half the size I'm in. I'm not in a mansion or anything, but I could live in a house probably half this size, and therefore, like, am I okay with living in this house? I mean, it's complicated. I don't, houses are expensive now. I don't know if I can find a house at this point, and cutting my house in half isn't going to help or whatever. But there's a lot of different things we do. I try not to go to coffee shops and get coffee drinks that come in a plastic cup. But every once in a while, like once a month or whatever, I'll forget to make my own coffee. I won't have time, and I'll go do it. So yeah, I don't think I'm not fine with hunting, but I'm also not fine with the coffee drinks I might purchase once a month. But I'm fine with it in the sense that like we have to live our lives and there's a lot of things that are going to happen and we have to pick and choose like what are the worst things and what do we want to focus on? Yeah.
The goal, right? It's not.
That's the mantra. That's where we're heading. That's what we should be advocating for.
Right.
It's like. I mean, we wouldn't have beatless Tuesdays for our wives, would we?
Yes.
No, beatless Tuesdays, or I like slaveless Tuesdays. I don't want to have slaveless Tuesdays. I want the abolition of slavery.
Yeah, we all do. We all want the abolition of slaves. We all want the abolition of beating wives. But if there are slaves and if there are wives being beat, every punch less is better for them. They would think so, and it just happens to be. Every minute of not being a slave or treated like a slave is good for the slave. This is how it is. I can't even believe that this argument, that I need to even keep saying this argument.
Here's the thing, right? Have you heard of the saying rule of thumb?
Oh yeah, that you could beat your. Yeah, go ahead, tell me.
That's the thickness of stick. That's the maximum thickness of stick that you can beat your wife with.
Yeah, like in the 1800s. I don't know if it was the UK or in the US or both. But yeah, so rule of thumb, which people now just say rule of thumb as in it's a rule. But yeah, it used to be a thing where it was illegal to beat your wife with a stick that was thicker than your thumb, or maybe than the average thumb. I don't know. I don't know how well people looked into this. So I don't know. Like, does that? I'm trying to think if that makes sense. Like, if you had a stick that was double the size of your thumb and you beat somebody with it, would that hurt more than half the size? Probably. So yes, that's silly. That's silly as hell. We're used to a world where people aren't allowed to beat their wives. And so at a time and in a place where people were allowed to beat their wives, then creating this law is amazing for the wives. It must be. There's not really any argument to this. I kind of sometimes feel like I'm taking crazy pills. if it's worse, then you want to do the better. You know, like I can't even.
Rule of thumb. If it's any thicker than that, you can get in trouble. You know, would we be advocating? Carson, reasonable vegan, will be saying, "That's great. So
Yes.
they only use like a thin stick to beat the whites. That's
Yes.
better than having a thick stick."
Yes.
And using a cricket bat.
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
mate.
no,
we,
yes.
We want to stop beating our wives. With
Yes,
sticks.
correct. We want to stop beating them with sticks, but it's better than beating them with cricket bat. I don't even know if they're hearing themselves.
We want to stop it. We don't want a beatless Monday where we don't beat our wives. We don't want, so yeah, it doesn't sit right with me.
No, I guess it's the question. The claims makers and the activists have to be demanding what we truly want. I can't be asking you to beat your wife less. I have to be asking you to beat your wife not at all. And if you beat your wife less, hey, good job. Now we're talking about progress. I still want you to beat your wife.
Well, no, it's a mixture of, yes, in general, it's good to talk about all the things you want. I talk about philosophy of all different kinds, and I'll talk about wild extreme stuff. But when I get a chance to talk to people about things that actually might go through and that we could get a lot of people talking about to show that the world feels this way, then yeah, you want to pinpoint all these different things. In the 1800s, let's see, 1848, the first Seneca Fall meeting with Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. At this point, women, for the most part, weren't allowed to own homes. They weren't allowed to have any ownership over their children. If there was a divorce, they had no say. The children were just with the dad. They weren't allowed to get a divorce. The husband could divorce them, but they couldn't divorce the husband. They had no legal right to vote. There's a whole bunch of things. And all of those things went into place in different years. Like in the 1870s, women got the right to own houses, and in the 1880s, women got the right to have ownership over their children if there was a divorce or something like that. And eventually, in 1920, women got the right to vote. So yes, when it was enough people were talking about it that they were thinking about making it to where women could legally own property. You wouldn't go, no. We can't tell people we want women to own property. We need to only declare that women should have all the same rights as men. And if somebody says, should we focus on getting them the right to own property? No, none of that. They have to get the right to vote and own property the same day or nothing. Even if it means that we have to wait till the year 3000, we will let women suffer as long as we can force it all to happen at once. No, that would be extremely stupid. No offense. And so we don't do that. There's nothing, you don't have to lie. I'm not saying to lie. I'm not saying to say, oh, I don't want veganism. I don't want factory farming ended. I just want branding of cows to be ended. And then you get that ended and then you bring up the next one. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you can go out there, you can talk about veganism all you want or whatever, but that there's nothing wrong with having sitting at a table where you do a talk saying, cow tail docking should end or something like that. And then people can sit down and you can say, here, look at this video, and they cut these tails off. Should we change this law? To say that something wrong is happening because you're not talking about the abolition and full-on veganism is silly, and it doesn't add up to any movement in all of history. It just really doesn't. It doesn't make sense to. It doesn't seem like it possibly can. Seriously, look into politics. Look into even this year or last year. Each thing that's happening, everything's slight incremental changes of what's happening. Blah.
Not at all. I want it zero. I want to get down to zero.
Yes.
Well, what if I only beat her on Tuesdays? Not acceptable. We need to get down to zero.
It's better, but
What
yeah.
if I only did
go down
heroin
to
every
zero.
Monday? I mean, these are
Nate's
the
talking. Joking.
Yeah, heroin's not good
What-
for you. So if you only do it on Monday and not the other days, then that's good. Or if you normally do it on every day and you cut it on Monday, I mean, it's simple. It's simple goddamn math. There's nothing. I shouldn't even be saying this, but I got to keep saying it
What
every
if I only
time.
ride horses when I'm starring in a movie about Napoleon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I this might be Joaquin Phoenix or something. I don't know. I heard people talking about this movie thing. Yeah. If other people ride horses all the time, and you could have ridden horses all the time, but you decide, nope, I'm vegan. I'm not going to eat animals. I'm not going to ride animals and whatever. But I will have one exception where when I'm doing this passion thing of mine, I'm making movies, I will do this thing because I think this is important to tell this story or whatever. It's not the best. I wouldn't do it, but you're not doing everything perfect in your life. Like telling somebody they're not vegan because they rode a horse in a movie would be like somebody trying to pick apart every little detail of, oh, if you bought this kind of light that your name's written behind your head, this light was made from this factory where there's this child slavery in this other country that made the lights for you. Like, we can't do everything perfect. We should work towards things. I'm not a fan of the riding horses thing, but anyways, that's a cool pause image on Dan. But okay, MZR in Faith said, "Hey Carson, thanks for your help motivating me to fully go vegan." Awesome, that's great. Thanks for being here.
Is that okay? What if I only enslave and beat horses when I star in movies about Napoleon? Is that okay? No.
Yeah, none of this has anything to do with okay or not okay. RC, I can't talk in 40 minutes. I'd actually have to talk pretty soon, so I'll have you come on this live stream. Maybe in about 5 to 10 minutes, if that's cool with you. Otherwise, we'd probably do it at a different time.
No, it's not okay. It never is. The goal has to be gone. I always say it's never okay to be reasonable about any injustice ever, period. Hannah Moon, in the words of, Hannah Moon, you're exactly right. Tom Reagan said,
you don't want to be reasonable about injustice? I don't even know what that means. I'm not...
that I'm an extremist about that. I'm always against rape. I'm an extremist about it. Exactly. All right. So I think we're on a roll. Let's see what we got. If I'm a vegan or a reducitarian? I think this is the one about you, right?
The reply. Let's have a quick look at this.
All right, here we go. It's long though, mate.
All right. So this guy, Grumpy Vegan Grandad, did a video taking a video of mine where I talked about Meatless Mondays, and he did a reaction to it. So I was calling Meatless Mondays good because if you're not eating meat, that's good. Obviously,
If you're not eating meat, that's good, is what he says, right?
yeah, nothing is set. Like, if you normally eat one steak a day and you stop eating steak on Mondays, but then you start eating 2 steaks a day on all the other days, then that is worse than before you did the Meatless Monday thing. But on average, I mean, we don't even have to say on average. The point is that if doing Meatless Mondays makes less animal products consumed, then that is good.
You know, this all reminds me of kind of like Peter Singer, any effective altruist or utilitarian who are just like, oh, well, anything that goes to the most good, that is not a justice movement. We're trying to bend the moral arc towards justice, not to be
We're
like...
not trying to make violence better, or less painful, or less harmful.
Well, why? Why are you doing it? Yes, I get it. You could want the end of something. But if there was like some crazy war going on and it was on some crazy planet where you had 50 billion trillion innocent people being fought off by 50 billion trillion horrible people, and you could be there and you could just go through and it felt like a video game and you could be wiping out all these bad guys that are killing these innocent people, or you could be like snatching up the innocent people and saving them and putting them some places, and like in your full lifetime, you're not going to be able to complete everything here. You want to save as many people as possible. You want to stop as many bad people as possible. You want to get as much good happening as possible. I just I don't like the thing I was saying a second ago about like the feminists in the 1800s. Susan B. Anthony died like 10 years before women got the right to vote, but she got to see women get the right to own property and to have ownership over their children and get the right to get divorced and all these different things that like a bunch of things women did not have the right to do. She got to be part of making this happen and see all these things. So to say like, oh, she didn't get to see the overall abolition of it, it's just okay. Yeah.
it's not an amelioration movement, it's a liberation movement. I just made that up.
So there always is the possibility that there could be an effect. Part of his point here was that people like will replace their meat with eggs, and so like the same amount or maybe even more animal products are eaten. I highly doubt this. So people usually eat about 3 meals a day. A lot of people eat a lot more than that. But yeah, so if you have a breakfast that has like sausage and eggs or whatever, and then you have a lunch that has like a sandwich with like sliced turkey belly meat or whatever, and then for dinner you have like beef tacos or a burger. I don't know, whatever. You're having meat in all these different meals. And so if somebody decides they want to do Meatless Mondays, then they're not going to just have extra eggs for breakfast, and then for lunch they're going to have eggs, and then for dinner they're going to have an egg burger. They're not going to replace every.
I wish I could skip past the part
meat with eggs and extra cheese.
where
Well,
I'm talking.
they're not
but-
replacing it with tomatoes, are they? I mean, what is he talking about here? Like,
He's trying. You see, what I've done is I've put an example, right, of someone's reaction to Meatless Mondays, and they've used evidence for that claim, right? Now, I'm not saying that everybody replaces eggs. I'm not saying that.
yeah.
But he seems to take everything literally.
Yes, I take things literally. So yeah, I made a video about Meatless Mondays being a good thing, and you did a video countering that, showing a voiceover of somebody saying that that egg consumption goes up with Meatless Monday or something like that. So yes, I was pointing out that it wouldn't be enough egg consumption to overpower it. That wouldn't make sense. And so yeah, I took that literally. If you had other arguments, you should have put the other arguments in there. And you didn't. So that's all right, though.
He doesn't seem. He seems to take everything absolutely literally. So what Danny's saying here is, full stop. Everything is replaced with eggs. No, I'm not saying that.
No.
saying
All
that-
people who do Meatless Monday replace everything,
With
every meal
eggs,
with
yeah.
eggs. Yeah. The problem with Meatless Monday is not whether or not it's being replaced. They're replacing their food with egg. Is that it's not a rights. It's not a rights-based issue at all. Like saying it's okay to just not eat meat on Mondays, and that's the part that you've done. It's kind of like, I don't. Do you remember when? Well, I don't want to talk about the vaccination, but I remember when they told me if I got a shot that everything would be okay and we'd go back to normal. So I got in line and I got the shot. That's what I did, and that was my part, right? They told me to wear a mask, so I wore a mask. I did my part, and that was all I did. Well, the animals need more. Justice needs more than just you doing your tiny little part, like not eating animals on Monday, because we're talking about the rights of animals and their status. So I completely, yeah, it's so ridiculous. Do we want to watch the rest of this?
No.
No? Okay. Yeah, it's a little lame. Meatless Monday sucks. I think we're off Meatless Monday.
Little lame.
All right, so I got a question here.
This is no vegans allowed, and I wanted to just fast forward to 420 because that's the type of, because it's legal in California. Here we go, 420.
I'm willing to do something to get arrested.
I want to point out, yes, Gardein fish is great. I haven't had that in a while, but it's really good. And yes, as far as the beans and the gas situation goes, it's this kind of this thing where if your stomach's not used to it, then yeah, it's a little weird. And then once it gets used to it, then that completely changes. We're wasting our time attacking other vegans. Great point. Very great point. I think it's good to analyze things. Like, so I've done a lot of videos where I will look at like Joey Carbstrong talking to people, and I'll point out why I think that something he said might be a bad look for veganism. But I'll also point out that I like Joey and I subscribe to his channel. So I think we can critique each other's strategies and how we do things while not attacking each other. I think one of the worst things we can do is tell each other why each other are not vegan. Out of the probably 100 people that I keep in constant contact with on YouTube about veganism, I would say 80% of them I've heard tell other people that they are not vegan. And so it's probably the majority of people I talk to either have been told they're not vegan or tell other people they're not vegan, because like one thing that's slightly different about how they approach veganism makes them, somebody call them not vegan. And I think that's a very bad approach. We should not do that. Okay, I'm going to go over this next part that they're going to do, and then I'm going to take a break from this. I'm going to send RC a link to come on this stream, and then I'm going to talk to RC in a sec. Yeah.
But here's the thing. If we want anything to function, we would have to want the laws to be fulfilled. So if you want to cause a disturbance because of something that you think is a horrible law, you should also want the law to do its job. So if you do something to, I guess what I'm saying is somebody could do something that I think is a good action, like breaking a law to prove a point. But if they were caught, I would want them to get in the amount of trouble you'd get in for that law broken. And that's because I want the laws to work. And so that's why I think it's best to vote in your representatives you want, and have conversations with many people and try to get the majority to change their mind on what some laws are.
Well, isn't that a reasonable idea, right?
Yes, I think so. Real quick before I let him finish what he's saying here, I just want to point out, so this video they're reacting to was me talking about Tash Peterson in Australia protesting, and there's this idea of like, if a vegan's doing something that's illegal. I don't know if her protest was illegal, but I was just reacting to like, if it's illegal, should we like be rooting for the person to not get in trouble? And I was basically giving my stance on why I think laws are the most important thing we have. And even somebody doing something that I might view as good, I would want the law to do what it's supposed to do, and that because of this happening, it will lead to us changing the law. So
all we have to do is follow the laws, obey the rule of law, and make sure that everyone else does. Criticize anyone who doesn't follow the law. Expect that every law is applied equally, which I think is ridiculous. I mean,
you don't have to expect that every law is applied equally, and you don't have to expect that the laws are good. You should fight to change laws. We constantly will see laws changing for things like abortion, and whichever side you stand on, you should fight for that change. I'm just saying that if we want laws to work and to make sense, we have to follow them. We have to, well, if we strongly stand against something, then sure, we should stand against it. If there's a law saying you have to eat meat every day, I would probably break that law. But I would also try my best to get that law changed as soon as possible, because I wouldn't want to go to jail, but I would want the laws to be upheld. Because if you can't just like take me or take Sky here and say like, okay, these laws should be upheld and these shouldn't. If you could convince them to not uphold a certain law, then it wouldn't be illegal.
this to me flies in the face of almost every form of activism. What is he? I don't get it. Like,
right. So, okay. So let's use his logic here, right?
Yeah.
I lose my job. I've got no money. My kids are starving. I go into a supermarket. I steal a loaf of bread. I get caught. Are you telling me that they should give me exactly the same sentence
book him,
as someone
Dano.
as someone who went in to steal for profit, to steal for the proceeds of crime? What an absolute load of bullshit.
Well, first of all, how can you know why somebody did each of these things? But yeah, so that's the thing. In this case, what I would say is you lose your job, you can't get a new job, you have kids, you need to feed them. Hopefully you're in a country where you can go to a place and get food, get donations. I don't actually know what happens. Like, so if somebody doesn't have money, can't pay for their house, can't live at a house, they're going to become homeless, they're homeless. I don't know what happens when they have kids. I know a handful of people that get money, get assistance from the government when they have kids, and they usually get enough to stay in an apartment and to have food stamps and get some food. So I don't think realistically, you in the UK and me in the US, that's a situation unless the person doesn't know. So if you go to steal bread to feed your kids, you just didn't know that you could have gotten free bread. And so, yeah, I'm not saying that you should get some crazy jail time. I'm not saying that because of this, your name should be on some list and you should lose your kids or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what should happen when it comes to things like warnings of, but if you did it again, now, so if you just didn't know, if you were told like, hey, you can go get all this free food from this shelter over here, or you can apply for this assistance stuff. And then if you steal because you're lazy and you don't want to go get the food stamps, but the store is really close to you, yeah, somebody owns that bread. Somebody owns that store. I'm not saying I wouldn't steal. I would kill to save my family. So I'm with you on that. But yeah, the law doesn't just become a thing where it's like, okay, we're gonna let somebody's stuff be stolen. Like, you want to feed your kids and you go and steal like a car to sell the car. It's like when they find you and they see that you needed to feed your kids, you just tell the person that you stole the car from, oh, can't give you the car back because that person, he wanted to feed his kids. No, the system has to still work. It still has to be in place. You just have to you just have to like, hopefully you'd be in a society that has that can take care of its citizens. I don't think a society can really function unless it can take care of its citizens, because if the citizens are going to rise up and because they have no way of living and surviving. But yeah, I don't know what the exact answers are, but yeah, something like that. You can't steal just because you need to feed your kids. That's not how that works. Also, you should talk more about the process of foods and the chemicals, food dyes, and additives they use, like how Jif peanut butter mixes with palm oil. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. I might do that. If you don't see me do that, you should remind me whenever I post something, like where I say like if you have any questions for like an Ask Me Anything. Let's see. That's why they have set amount. Class felonies charges are $1,200. Stealing bread once is criminal mischief. No charges, just a warning. Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. Yeah, if you're told that you can go get free food here and then you steal the bread again, that's because you're a bad person that did a wrong thing, and you're making bad choices that you intentionally are doing a thing that will negatively affect your kids, and maybe the kids should be taken away. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
What an absolute load of bullshit.
If you steal prescription drugs so that your baby can survive, it's punishable by
Yeah, if you live in the US or the UK and your baby needs prescription drugs, you don't need to steal it. You would just have to find out how and again, if you thought you needed to steal it, you steal it, and then you explain why you stole it, and then it lines up. The doctors say, yeah, this baby needs this thing, and then it's like, okay, so you didn't need to steal this, you just had to fill out this paper, you get this warning, don't do it again. Easy, simple, easy peasy.
by law, and it should be carried out to the fullest extent of that law, because there are no mitigating circumstances whatsoever, because laws are morality. Legality is not morality. And this
True.
is I think
And circumstances that Western law requires circumstances, evidence. You have the chance to give your reasons why you did what you did. You know,
absolutely. I mean, the
What?
spirit of the law. If the spirit of the law is observed, that is something that's what was it? Roman versus Germanic law? Is that how it is? Someone can correct me. I think it's Romanic versus Germanic laws. That like in Germanic law, it's like, oh, you ran the red light, you're going to jail, no matter why you ran the red light. But in Roman law, it'd be like, well, the spirit of a light, you ran the red light you stopped, you looked both ways, and you ran it at 3 o'clock in the morning because no one was coming. The spirit of the law was observed, and so you shouldn't.
I see some shorts by this New York judge.
Yeah, so I'm kind of torn on that kind of thing. Like part of me thinks rules are important. Learning them to be prepared for what's right or wrong is good. So you come to a stop sign, it's 3 a.m, there's absolutely no cars. Yeah, I don't know. I want to be honest. I might roll through it. Hold on one sec. I'm not sure why I said hold on one second. I'm not. Yeah. Anyways, I wish I had water here because I feel a strong tickle. I might roll through it, but I honestly think that even cases like that where you're pretty sure of a situation, you should get used to following the laws. Especially traffic laws. Traffic laws are put in there to keep people safe. So if you keep getting used to, at 3 a.m, I just roll through this one, you might get to the point where you stop looking and you just remember nobody's ever there at 3 a.m, but then some other car might be speeding and they're doing a wrong thing as well. But they're going like 120 miles an hour and they plow right into you. And maybe they die, and maybe they shouldn't have died, because even though they are doing a wrong thing, part of why they died is because you were doing a wrong thing. So we should obey those laws. But yeah, if somebody was caught on film running a stop sign at 3 a.m. with no cars around, I don't know. Maybe I don't think that should be cared about much. But then again, I'd want that put into law. It's not like that you have laws and then it's like try to weasel your way out of it. You should just, if there's a bad law, if there's laws that shouldn't be happening between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. because nobody's out driving, then change laws.
And he's quite regular on, I don't know whether it's Instagram shorts or whether it's on TikTok shorts. And there was this guy in front of him who sped, and he said, "Why were you speeding?" And he said, "Well, I had to get to my son because he's dying of cancer. I've got to do it, you know." And this judge says, "Okay, you know, walk
Yeah,
out. But he
have
still
a
broke
nice-
the law.
Yeah.
If it was up to Carson, they'd have him in a pit and have him stoned, man. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think that they should be in a pit and stoned. But yeah, that's okay. I don't know about this cancer example, but yes, if somebody's like got their wife in the car that's pregnant and they're speeding to get to the hospital or whatever, and they get pulled over, and the cops are like, "Why are you speeding?" And he's like, "I'm taking my wife to the hospital." And the cop should probably like put his lights on and have the guy like go with him and get him to the hospital as quick as possible. With his lights on and helping and whatnot. But that doesn't change that an illegal thing happened. Maybe an acceptable thing happened in a sense. You can at least you can see why he did it. But if that person's speeding to get their wife to the hospital, or somebody speeding to get to their kid with cancer, that doesn't really make sense to me. But even if they are, and then they get in a wreck and it's their fault and they kill somebody, there's a reason that the law says you can't speed. There would be no reason to have a law that says you can't speed unless you're pregnant, unless there's this emergency or whatever. And sure, somebody shouldn't like have their lives thrown away because they were speeding to get their wife to a hospital because she's pregnant. So they shouldn't be like put in jail forever or get even a misdemeanor or anything like that. You just get a speeding ticket and you just deal with it. That's just part of life.
Well, there would be
I
no
think-
live. There'd be no live rescue. There'd be no
Live
rescue attempts,
rescue?
because then obviously, like the efforts of Wayne Shung are
A
completely.
big one, a flat one, and a packet of gravel, please. Stone him. All I said was that piece of halibut was good enough for Jehovah. Jehovah. Fuck's sake.
Yeah. I don't like this at all. This idea that activists should just have the book thrown at them no matter what's going on. If we have unjust laws, it is our duty to not follow them. I mean, this is MLK.
40-year-old vegan will love this. You know what I mean? He'll love this. He'll love Carson for this. I tell you.
Yeah, right. I mean, I just
And so, anyways, I guess it's kind of complicated because I don't know what the laws are in Australia and with that whole restaurant situation.
okay. So of course they're talking about Tash Peterson. A lot of people have weighed in on this. You and I have actually not spoken since Tash did her fire protest, which I'm a huge proponent of. I think she did a great job. I hope that more people do stuff like that. What was your take? Do you think that she should be punished and be
I haven't seen it, and I've no idea because I've been wrapped up in my own little world for the last couple of months. So yeah, just explain to me what happened.
Well, I guess I could show you, but at the end of the day, Tash Peterson, you know about Mr. Johnny Mountain. He's a chef who banned all
Oh
vegans
yes,
from this
right,
restaurant.
fire. Yes, I did see it. Sorry, yes,
The restaurant
I did see
in
it.
Perth. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I know. I thought you meant she'd set something on fire. You know.
No.
Right,
No, she
okay,
walked
I've got you.
in, played the sounds of.
Okay, so let's see. The link I just put in there is for RC. He's going to join on in a second. I just put it there for now, so save that. And yeah, that 300 for liability, that's a bummer. Hopefully that can go down over time. Like, yeah, it's a bummer you're going through that. But at the same time, I mean, like when I was a teenager, I got so many tickets for speeding, and I lost my license for like a month at one point, and I owed so much money for various different things. But you know what? I got my life together and I got things figured out and things are going good. And you can do the same. Yeah, I think you can. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more of this and then RC's going to hop on and we're going to talk about some things.
Pigs. He assaulted her. It was a screaming protest, but it was a peaceful one. And this is what Reasonable Vegan is saying. He's slagging off other activists, and this is something that always bothers me.
So she created a bit of discomfort for somebody who discriminated against.
I have nothing against creating discomfort. You can create discomfort. I was just pointing out that if a law was broken, then the law is the law and it should be upheld. That's all I was saying.
Against a group of people.
And-
if it's
and
been
actively-
if it's been a group of Muslims who he banned because they complained that there weren't any non-pork dishes, he would have been. Would Carson be advocating for him to go to jail for 50 years? You know what I mean? It's like,
that and also this guy is.
What? Yeah, like I don't know exactly what he's saying there, but yes, it wouldn't matter, Muslims, vegans, whatever. In my mind, this is how I feel now, and I can be convinced otherwise. If somebody owns a business, they should be able to decide who goes and who does not go. I don't care if a thing says no Muslims can go or it says no vegans can go. That's somebody's decision they can make, and I think it takes very drastic issues in a country to change that idea. Now, currently, that's in a lot of different ways is not allowed in many places. But yeah, I'm making no claims that Tash Peterson did anything illegal. I don't know if this other guy did anything illegal. I'm just saying that being a person that likes what another person did shouldn't change if you think the law should be upheld or not, is all I'm saying.
Is a person who uses dead animals, tiny piglet carcasses as props to pretend like they're baby children, and he's playing with them. I mean, this is real serial killer vibes out of this guy. Anyone who defends him versus Tash Peterson, it blows my mind.
I'm not, though. I'm not. I'm just saying if somebody owns a business, they should have say over their business. And then when it comes to protesting, whatever laws are in place, if I disagree with the law, I disagree with it. But in general, right now, my claim would be that if protesting is allowed, then it's allowed. Now, the Tash thing where she goes in and plays audio and video inside the building, like I watched one where she took laptops into a KFC and showed like things that happen to chickens. And part of me liked it, but another part of me thought like, the company doesn't have to allow her to be in there, and if they don't, then they don't. And so I'm not taking one person's side over another because of veganism or not veganism. It's just laws in general. Like we're vegans and we care about animals, but we should also care about our societies and what we're legally allowed to do. I want to be able to protest stuff I want to protest, so I want other protesters to be able to protest what they want to protest. And same for if I owned a company, I would want rights to make choices, and I want other people to have rights to make their choices.
It's like it's like that thing where they say if the devil and Jesus are in a room and you put a lamb in there and a knife, who's going to stab the lamb? Is it going to be the devil or Jesus? I think it's going to, if I put Johnny Mountain and Tash Peterson in a room, I'm calling Tash Peterson the Jesus one here. Tash is a hero, says Hannah Moon Vegan. I completely agree. I think she's a hero. New ag-gag laws likely going in through Canada. There's another thing. So should that be a law we all follow because there's new ag-gag laws? People intentionally obfuscating the truth?
No, so that's the thing. So like if it's illegal to go in and like film in factory farms, I think people should sneak into factory farms and film. I think that's one of the best forms of activism there is. I think that's a dumb law. And I don't know. Like I believe in people having private property and having rights in that sense, but I very strongly think that we should be able to show if people are harming animals. I think there should be security footage going to the government at all times of what happens in factory farms. So even though that law exists, and I think the law should be upheld, if somebody gets caught filming, they should get in trouble because it wouldn't make sense if they didn't. Laws wouldn't be able to work if they didn't work in all the cases. So yes, I would sneak on to a farm, film bad goings on in there to show that to the world, to hope change the world. But if I got caught, I should go to jail, and I can deal with it because I am willing to go to jail because I know that that's the risk. I take the risk, and if it happens, it happens.
That is something that I can't get behind. $250K fine and 2 years in jail.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Is that reasonable? Is that reasonable vegan?
Yeah, no, that's very not that much not reasonable. I don't think that's a good law. And I would hope that if that happened, that person going to jail and getting that fine would send a message to make people want to overthrow that law. Okay, anyways, I'm going to stop there. I'll do a follow-up on this if anybody wants me to do the rest of it. I only made it about 23 minutes in. But now I'm going to bring RC in here. Hey, RC,
Hello.
how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, so I wanted to talk like I think it was like a little over a month ago, back in June, because I was on Instagram and there was, forget the full context of the story, but basically there was some kind of post. Oh yeah, Joey Carbstrong said like cats can go vegan, and then people were like, no, they can't. And then I was in the comments saying, well, I don't know for sure if they can or can't. All I know is there's some studies saying they could. So essentially, I said like kind of like what I was saying in the last stream we had together. Like, oh, it'd be best if they just didn't exist or weren't bred
Mhm.
into existence anymore. And then people were shitting on me hard. Like they were so
Mhm.
angry. They were just like, "Oh, I don't condone your existence," and they would talk about how like I'm evil and a sociopath. But like I just kept explaining, "Oh, well, what do you choose? If I had to choose between a cat being carnivorous, and having to feed multiple animals to sustain that one life, I talked about
Mhm.
that whole thing, and then I brought on some people through like Instagram, through like DMs and stuff, and just like called them on the phone. And I think most of
Yeah.
them were pretty close-minded, but
Yeah, I think usually it's people that own cats themselves,
yeah, a lot
because
of them
they don't
did
want to
own
feel.
cats.
Most people don't want to feel bad. Like me, I have rescue guinea pigs. I think you might know that, and I also think it's wrong to have pets. I think it's wrong to have guinea pigs. They should go extinct. But
Mhm.
most people, if they own a thing and have justified it, people just don't want to feel bad, which is why non-vegans hate vegans so much. Is they don't want to be thought of as, oh, I'm bad for eating meat.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, the vegans handle it so much worse when they hear like opposing views because they're just like they always bring up, oh, I'm already doing a lot. Talk to the people who aren't vegan. Like they just want like credit for being plant based.
Yeah.
Um, but essentially, what it boiled down to is like I went on for hours and hours talking to all these different people, and them just like they couldn't like create valid arguments. They couldn't like debunk the things I was saying. They'd call me like all these names and stuff, and then I would say, okay, can you explain why you called me that? For what reason makes me fall into that thing you said I was, or and they couldn't like back their arguments. It was just completely irrational,
Mm-hmm.
and it just made me start thinking like, and oh yeah, and then I felt like it ties into kind of your conversation with those two dudes. I forget their names, but
Mm-hmm.
it just made me think like, God damn, like, is it even worth having this argument anymore? Like, you know, sometimes like when you debate vegans, it's like how far should you go? But what a lot of the people were upset about, they said like I was like being mean about it. Like they're just like, oh, you're so mean. But
Hmm.
all I did was like say facts. I just didn't like really like beat around the bush. I kind of just said, oh no, it's not. It's wrong to do this and that. And
Yeah. Yeah, it's
um,
weird. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I'm not a huge fan of going over and over like with vegans the details of why people are and aren't vegan. So yeah, I agree with you. Like some points, I'm just like, oh, I kind of want to give up. Like I don't not give up on like obviously I'd follow my morals and my actions would still be what they are. But many vegans on the internet make me not want to have the title vegan.
yeah, um, yeah. All I know, like they were just like I just got like so burnt out. It's like, what do I even say to these people anymore? It's like I'd even try to explain like, look, I want what's best for the animals. So get me to agree if you disagree with me, but if you can't create valid arguments, then I'm not going to agree with you. And they would never create
Mm-hmm.
valid arguments, and it's just like
Yeah.
it was
Well,
just
well,
so
here's the thing.
simple.
Do you care more about the death or the suffering?
I'd say the suffering because I'd
Okay.
rather die than suffer immensely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think so too, especially when thinking of animals that we can know that their intelligence is lower and they are less likely to think of the future, and so assuming for them, I think it's fair enough to say that the suffering is worse. So one element I've been thinking about a lot since listening to the Nutrivore. I don't necessarily agree with this yet. I'm sure Jerem here in the comments does agree with this stance, or at least something like it. But so I was listening to the Nutrivore. He was talking about how horrible the wild is, and how, like, in a sense, if we could get rid of all of it, it'd be great. If we could get rid of any animals that cause suffering to each other, that because almost every animal, like 95% of them, don't even make it to adulthood. The ones that do have horrible lives. So, like, if you were to if somebody was doing it for good reasons, not for human taste pleasure, but taking an animal that would be an animal that like a cat might eat, and you take that animal and you give it the greatest life possible. So you don't like, let's say it was chickens or whatever. You don't cut their beaks off, and you don't like grind up little baby chicks. You just have chickens, and you give them the best lives possible. They run around in grass. We can know for their species they wouldn't want anything more than this large area with grass and being fed the best food. And then let's say there's a way to kill them as quick as possible, no pain whatsoever, and then they're fed to cats. So these chickens aren't for feeding to humans. I wonder, when comparing to the suffering that goes out in the wild, if it can be justified to say, like, these cats have these good lives, they're eating the food that makes them the healthiest they can be, and these chickens have good lives until they're dead. It's almost as if these chickens and cats were in the wild. It's like humans controlling it, making the exact same thing take place that would take place in the wild, but not letting any of them suffer. Some of them just die, and the other ones are healthy. This is my devil's advocate for how they should have responded to you, but I'm curious your thoughts on it.
On letting. Sorry. So you said.
So, like, if
What's
cats were
worse?
going to be in nature killing chickens and clawing them up and
Yes.
doing all this crazy stuff, if instead of, I don't know if we could make that not happen, but let's say we humanely wiped out wild cats and chickens, but then we had areas that were like sanctuaries, like gated off forest areas, and half of it was fenced off to have chickens, and half was an area to have like cats or even humans having pet cats. And we don't feed cats unhealthy things for them. We just raise these chickens, intentionally giving them better lives than they would have had in nature. And then we humanely kill them as quick as possible, whatever. And it's not for human taste pleasure. It's just that we feed these cats, these domesticated cats, the healthiest raw chicken meat. Do you find that somewhat acceptable if we're comparing it to what's happening in the wild and we stop it happening in the wild?
I'd say it's more preferable, but
Mm-hmm.
like I don't think it's moral because you're
Yeah.
killing multiple animals to sustain very, less.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about killing carnivores, it goes into the debate of the environment, the ecosystem, and like you don't know
True.
if you kill one carnivorous animal, that carnivorous animal could have eaten other carnivorous animals and all kinds of different aspects. So calling carnivores is a very complicated subject that you can't really act upon.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes having that debate just feels kind of like a waste of time. In some cases, I've debated people on that, and it's just like just boils down to we don't know enough about the solution to it. If we were to
Yeah.
make the world, if everything were controlled by humans, that would be. I'd prefer for that, but I don't.
Yeah, for
think
sure.
it's
Well, yeah, because I think we have to do things in different steps, and we don't all have to have the same opinion on it. But like in my mind, I view health and survival as most important. So once we're healthy and surviving, and we have supermarkets full of food, then we can say, hey, we can be vegan, and we can do this moral act of not killing animals. But until we can get that to change in a big way, I think our focus should be on that. We really should be focusing on welfare for farm animals, ending factory farming, all that kind of stuff. And then if that's ever magically gone, if all humans, at least in a country or something, if all humans go vegan and there's no factory farms anymore and everything's great, then we can stop and go, what do we have the capability of? Can we change this thing in nature? And I think it's fascinating to talk about. I think that example I just gave you is probably the best example anybody could have responded to you with in that thing you're talking about where they basically did not give you good answers. But I'm with you. I don't view it as my place to choose for these animals. But it's hard to not want to make it better for them if we had that much luxury. Like if we were so advanced that like we created all the AI to do all the jobs for us and we had all this free time, and then we could go off and like figure out what's the best way, calculate the best way to make better lives for all wild animals. Maybe that's an approach we'll have to take someday.
Yeah. I was thinking, by the way, I agree with your view. I could see I forget their names, the two guys, you know who I'm talking about, the two guys you were debating.
Yeah, so that's
debate
Vegan, of course, and that guy's name is Sky, and the other guy's name's Dan, but his channel is called Grumpy Vegan Grandad.
Yeah, so I can see their point, but I feel like they work in absolutes too much. So I agree more with you. Like the thing is, what they want is they don't want you to just say, they kind of see you as the kind of person who just goes, oh, please, do the bare minimum. And then when they do the bare minimum, you're like, good job. Like kind of like coach them into being vegan. But I think best way I could put it is like, let's say you're trying to take down a straw house. At your pace, you're taking pieces of straw one by one, but that's good, right? Because the house is slowly starting to come down. And they're just saying, no, we need to knock the whole house down right now. But, you know, I always advocate, like, in this hypothetical, we want the house to come down. I'd advocate for any measure to get that house to come down, even if it's in small doses, you know?
Yeah.
So I agree with you mostly, but I also understand their point is they don't want to just, they're kind of like, no, I'm tired of this whole bullshit of, you know, cucking the people, not wanting to go vegan, and let's just make it happen, you know?
Well, yeah, I think sometimes people are so passionate that they can't see the right answer. They, especially something that they don't think will change, and they feel like there's all these people that suck when it comes to the topic, like you horrible meat eaters. I'm going to tell you how horrible you are. And I just think they're not thinking it through, and they're passionately not thinking it through. I mean, it's like when are you familiar with Schindler's List? Schindler, the guy that saved like a couple thousand Jews during the Holocaust.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Oh, okay. So it's just this guy. It was a German that owned the factory, and he was able to smuggle out like it was almost 2,000 Jewish people and save their lives. And it's so amazing because each of those people were individual humans that were saved that would have died. But what these guys are saying, and what many vegans seem to be saying, is, no, don't save them. If you can't save everybody at once, don't save those guys.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's the problem. I really think it's this idea that we see this horrible thing, and it's easy for us to use our words to say something like, it should all end. We should end it all right now. But not thinking out the best methods and what approaches could get us places. Or more so, what do the animals feel? Like really the amount of people like these guys that also watch Dominion and tell people to watch Dominion, I don't think they're thinking through the detail of the suffering these animals are going through. Because if they did, they would want to fight to end factory farming and ignore the hunting and the regenerative farming and all this stuff. And they'd go like, these animals are suffering and we need to end it. We need to end this suffering. And yeah, I can't seem to convince them.
Yeah. You know what I think one issue is? I think with you talk to everyone like they're very intelligent, like they're capable of having intelligent conversations. But I think what we need to accept more often is just that most people are pretty fucking stupid. Because I feel like when you go into this analyzation of everything, all the hypotheticals, there's so many people who are just like they're not going to pay attention. So I feel like the best activism strategy is to make it sound easier, sound more simple.
Fair. That's cracking me up. But yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, and
that's how I felt with the cat thing. Like I'm creating like, you know, pretty good points, but then they're not getting it because they're stuck on the part. Wait a minute. He's saying it's wrong to feed cats meat. I feed cats meat. So therefore he's saying I'm not vegan. So therefore I should get angry. That's
no, that's exactly what's happening. But no, I think you're right. And I think I don't know. I don't like. I don't think I'm like insanely intelligent or anything, and I don't like to call people dumb or not dumb. But there are different people that have different interests. Different people that like to analyze and break things down and philosophize about things, and there's other people that they don't have those same interests. And but I think you're right. If I was out on the street trying to convince people or going door to door, some people go door to door to try to get people to vote for certain politicians and different things like that. If I was trying to advocate for things, I would just break it down as simple as these cows get these hot brands branded into their skin, and it could easily be changed to ear tags. So would you be up for fighting for this? And then people would go, yeah, let's fight for it. And then even non-vegans could share all over social media how bad it is to brand cows. So I would focus on these little things of look at these cute little pigs and their tails are getting cut off. How can we change this? And that's what I would do for activism. For my channel, it just so happens that the things that have come up that I've been wanting to challenge are these kind of deeper things where you break it down, like breaking down why we care about animals, what element of sentience matters. Is it, if something is sentient, but the only element of it that's sentient is it's this big blob that grows in the water and it can feel if a fish touches it, but it can never have like advanced living. It can never feel sad or happy or anything. Then do I care about it? Like I like us figuring out like why we do things, because why would we do things if we couldn't understand why? But I think you're right. If there's no reason to make the masses think that that's what veganism is about, it just depends on who wants to come into that conversation.
Yeah, like lately, just when I've been trying to tell people to go vegan or trying to convince them, I have to like relate to when I was like a little kid and just think, I have to talk to them like they're a stupid fucking kid. Like I'm always like, let's see, how would I feel if I was a little kid and someone told me what to do? And like I literally like a lot of the things they say just reminds me of when I was a little kid. It's really fucking retarded. Like I'm just so like, it's so like depressing. Like I've just gotten full blown depressed from like talking to people like at work and stuff, about veganism and just seeing how fucking dumb they were. Like it just made me go home and just be like, oh my god, this planet sucks. Like everyone's so fucking dumb.
It can definitely be overwhelming. I would say you got to do a couple things. You got to find things you like to do, because sometimes I get overwhelmed. I usually don't, but if I do, I take a break from the internet and I just listen to music for a few days. You find things to like just get your mind off of it. But then the other thing is I like to talk to people in a way where like I can imagine I can learn from them. Even if that's not going to happen, I like to make sure that they know I'm listening to them, and that way they can feel that they can listen to me. And if you don't have like an honest sit down, relaxed conversation, you're just going to come out of it stressed. Even if it is relaxed and it's a sit down, you might be stressed. But if you're just standing there with somebody telling them like just spitting good facts, and they're like, no, I can kill animals because I don't care. It doesn't matter. There's no way, if you're not sitting back, relaxed, just like with your ears open, ready to listen, there's no way it's not going to be stressful. So I say stay off the internet forums of typing, get away from the 5-minute conversations with coworkers, and get on some live streams.
About that, like I've tried like taking a break off the internet. I've done that before, but I mean, it really just vegan conversations always come up. I don't always like initiate the conversations. Like people just hear I'm vegan and they go, "Oh, why do you do that? Where do you get your protein at?" And like all this stupid shit. And I'm talking to these people like 2 to 3 times my age. Like, okay, yeah, so this is where you get all non-essential amino acids, blah blah. And they're, what? Huh? I don't understand. They're just like so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like teaching special ed or something, but like people will come up to me and talk to me about it, and then like come up say that, oh, I love cheese too much. Oh, what am I supposed to do without cheese? My doctor says I need protein, and or I'm protein deficient. I have to eat 130 grams of protein every single day, or else I'll die. Or I don't know,
Mhm.
like they say such stupid shit, and I always try to explain to them, well, it's not always about you, it's about the animals, and they usually just get offended by when I say that. Just like, oh, it's so insensitive. You're saying I'm a selfish asshole. I'm like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are.
Like I'm trying to
Um,
be nicer about it, but like, I
yeah,
feel like I am talking to them like they're stupid fucking kids. I
yeah.
like to just be blunt and get to the point instead of like easing them into the conversation. Like, look, baby. Like, see the poor animals. Like like just trying to empathize with them. I feel like that's kind of what we have to do these days. We have to talk to
Yeah.
people with
Well,
stupid
yeah.
like
If you make
honestly.
somebody mad at you, where they just want to, like,
Mhm.
I don't blame you. Sometimes people are just so dumb and they're assholes, so you might as well be an asshole back. But in
Yeah.
general, when it comes to wanting to save animals, I think it's best to either be as nice as possible or to not be part of that conversation. But that's just me. Everybody has their different strategies. Vegan Gains clearly has his strategy, and we just have to do what
And
we
that's
can.
another thing. Like, I don't think Vegan Gains has made some people vegan because they're attracted to his content, and then they follow it and they're just like, oh, you know what? He's actually making good points. But for the most part, people just meme on Vegan Gains. They don't really take what he says seriously because, and like, it's easy for carnists to criticize him. They're just like, oh, but he has an OnlyFans, or oh, but he does this and that. Oh, but he's look how depressed he is. It's the vegan diet, or
Mhm. Yeah.
But I
Real
remember
quick,
like
I want to
my
respond. I'm going to respond to a
oh,
comment here, real quick. Red Breyer said, "Do vegans actually save animals? If so, where are they?" There's an easy answer to this. Yes, vegans save animals, and they don't exist. No vegan is trying to save animals that are already born. Vegans not putting animal products in demand make it so when the factories that raise the animals have a quota, they know how many they want to force breed. They breed how many they can sell based on what's in demand. So if every vegan today just started eating crazy amounts of meat, then next year when the farmers get their quotas, there'll be a way higher number. And so because of us not eating meat, there's a way lower number. But I don't think veganism saves animals that are already born. It just makes them not be bred. Every new vegan will make less animals be bred into existence, and that's our goal.
well, you also have the animal sanctuaries as well.
There are sanctuaries. I'm not sure exactly which animals make it to those sanctuaries and why. Every animal that makes it to a sanctuary likely makes another animal be bred into existence.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's yeah, which is why I'm against like rescuing animals from a factory farm. Like you go to a farm and you save some animal that suffered for a couple of years, it gets to live out a good life. But since you stole it, that farm has to replace it to get their meat. So they're just going to raise a new animal. So stealing an animal from a farm is putting meat in demand. It's stealing an animal from a farm to put it in a sanctuary is like stealing like 100 pounds of beef from a store. The
Yeah.
store just
You
has
know
to put it in
about
demand.
Tinsel the turkey?
Tinsel. No.
That's the turkey Joey Carbstrong saved. He saved a turkey from a slaughterhouse and kept it as a pet for a little while and made videos about it. And
Oh, okay. I have heard
in
about
that
that. Yeah.
situation, he kind of just showed how like how great turkeys are.
Hmm.
So I guess that did more harm or more good than harm.
Yeah, there are definitely cases where it can be different. So a case where you can share it with the world and you can put it on the
Mhm.
internet and take a turkey around to let random people pet. Then they can like I don't think it's right to own animals, but I would totally take a turkey or a chicken or some animal around to kids at a park and their parents can like look at it and pet it and go, oh, let's not eat turkey today,
Mhm.
so that they can think it through. Yeah.
Yeah, Joey's done that with pigs too.
Hmm.
Um, so the thing is, like, one thing about like stealing from those farms though is that the farmers who are breeding those animals make less money because part of their profits is being taken away. So that's also one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, there's always different factors for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the what was I talking about? Oh yeah, just like retarded people at work and stuff. Um, yeah, like people will talk to me and like some of them have actually said like, "Oh, you make some good points. Maybe I'll think about being vegan." But it makes me think like maybe we should be advocating for more self-centered. This is a thing that I see a lot of times. A lot of vegans criticize like people using veganism as like to make like environmental arguments and health arguments, but I feel like at this point, um, I think we should push for that because people are so selfish these days. You kind of just have to, you know. What do you think about that? Do you think we should focus on ethics or focus on
Yeah,
what makes people go vegan?
that's tricky. Yeah. If there's good reason, good evidence for something working for a good outcome, I mostly think you should do that. But it also depends on what people feel confident in. Like, I don't have much knowledge at all about environmental issues. So for me, anything I would talk about would mostly be ethical. And so I would stick to that. But honestly, I think we need to change up like what I think would be best would be changing up the entire approaches. Like I think ending factory farming instead of trying to turn the world vegan is probably the best approach. Doing something that it's kind of like that whole thing that people kind of joke about, but it's serious, where everybody you talk to about veganism says they don't eat factory farm stuff and they only get local stuff, but 99% of meat is from factory farms. So the people that will counter veganism because they don't want to look bad, they care enough about not wanting to harm animals that they're at very least going to claim that they don't want to eat factory farm stuff. So knowing that and us wasting our time not focusing on factory farming, I think is just a big waste. It's kind of like if farming didn't exist and people only hunted. And let's say we got grocery stores to where they are now, where we have all this endless amount of food, then the only thing we'd have to fight would be hunting. And then that would be our focus. But so this idea that we have all these issues, but we're going to say we only want to focus on all of them at once. So I'd say factory farms, like kind of a focus, trying to come up with ideas of what could be put in law would be a good focus. But one idea I would say is when you talk to people like the assholes you were talking about, if you focus on the idea of animals suffering for taste pleasure, I think that could go a long way. Because
That's what I typically do, though. I'm like, all
Okay.
these, so like, they're always like, oh, but it tastes good. The vegan cheese it just doesn't taste as well. And I'm just like, okay, well, so you get 20 minutes of, like, this is what Joey talks about all the time. Like, you get 20 minutes of taste pleasure. They lose their entire lives, and
Yeah.
multiple animals lose their entire lives for your petty little meals that are just a little bit decreased in value in taste pleasure than they would be if they were vegan.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then they just, oh, but you know, like, I don't know, people are just so self-centered sometimes. Sometimes you just kind of have to cut for that. Oh, by the way, a lot of those people who are calling me like evil for like the things I was saying about cats, a few of them added me on Instagram and actually became friends with me. So
Interesting.
so that actually brings me to another argument.
Yeah, what's up?
Do you think all publicity is good publicity in the case of veganism? Because
Ooh, no.
in this case, well, like in this case, these people thought I was an asshole, but it made them engage with me. And after they engaged with me, they started to understand me a bit more, and then they started to like me, and then I convinced them on a few things.
Yeah. No, I think in that case, yes. So like I don't think it's best when telling non-vegans about veganism to say things like domesticated pets shouldn't exist. Now, I think they shouldn't exist, but I'm never going to focus on that. If they ask me about it, I'll say it, and I'll say it on my channel. And so if somebody watches that, they'll happen to see it. But I don't think that's a good place to start. So in that sense, I think there's a lot of things that you can say about veganism that could be bad for veganism. And so I think I don't like to name call, and I'm not going to. You know what? I'm not going to. There are two of the most well-known vegans on YouTube that I won't say the names of, and I won't say the genders, or if I'm talking about two that are different gendered and far apart in age. There are two that are thought of as the most extreme that people make reaction videos making fun of and all this stuff. I think those people and people like them are very bad for veganism. I think if they didn't exist on YouTube, we would be a lot further in veganism. I think they make some people that might have interest in morals when it comes to animals. They don't want to be part of a group that includes those people.
Yeah.
Some people are going to hate vegans no matter what. But when you make it easy to hate vegans by being absolutely crazy. So yeah, I don't think any publicity is good publicity. I wish it's kind of like religion. I'm not religious at all, but there are Christians that make people think all Christians are crazy and the worst humans ever. And then there's Christians where you go, oh man, these are the sweetest, nicest people of all time. I view it kind of like that. I wish all vegans would be super nice, be informative, tell the truth, hold people accountable, fight for abolition, but be very nice. If every vegan could be as nice as Earthling Ed, the world would be vegan right now, probably. And so, yes, I think there is plenty of bad publicity when it comes to movements like this.
Yeah, so I've actually known a lot of vegans who take the opposing view to that, and I feel like I'm kind of like mixed. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like I lean towards the view opposed to yours. I think that in the case, so Vegan Gains, for example, I met a lot of vegans who became vegan because of Vegan Gains, and a lot of them think that Vegan Gains is an idiot on a lot of things. But actually, one of my closest friends who's vegan, he went vegan because of Vegan Gains.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
he thinks Vegan Gains is an idiot. He's like, oh, he's too woke, and he's always talking about this and that, you know.
Oh, he doesn't like him, but because he had a good argument that convinced him.
So he started watching Vegan Gains because, you know, he was insane and whatever, and he realized he made good points about veganism, so he became vegan. But he thinks Vegan Gains is an idiot on a lot of other things, like a lot of his political views and stuff. So even though he'll make an ass of himself sometimes, he brings attention to his channel. When people pay attention to the word vegan, it makes them more interested. What is veganism? And then they look more into it. But the question there is, I feel like that's what a smart person would do. That's what I would do. Would be like, if I hear something like, let's say I just never heard of veganism, and I heard some crazy person talking about veganism, I want to do further research rather than just watch from that single person. So that's where they say all publicity is good publicity, because it makes people think about veganism. The thing is, and this is what I was talking about with the retarded people, it seems like these days people are too stupid to do that. They just judge based off emotion, like, oh, that guy's an asshole, so therefore veganism probably isn't good because assholes are vegan. So it's like, it's hard you can't really, that's why it's always in the middle. It's like, I don't know how most people are. I'd say that most smart people don't judge by emotion. They'll look more into veganism if they hear about it. So so any publicity is good publicity in that case for smart people, but for dumb people, it might be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But also, Perpetually Annoyed said, you can be nice until you're blue in the face, but if an anti-vegan already has their mind to hate vegans and not care about animals, they will continue to do that, but everybody should be kinder. So this is a good point, and I think that thought is why people think that the kind approach isn't necessary. And here's the problem, though. So anti-vegans that already have their mind made up, it doesn't matter. There's no point to even talk to them in a sense, aside from if some of them are super intelligent, then what you were just saying maybe it would make sense. But the problem is you can never know if it's an anti-vegan or not. If somebody that's just not vegan is willing to talk, I think the reason you want to be kind is because if 50% of non-vegans are anti-vegan and then 50% are just not vegan, then if you're constantly treating all of them just like they're horrible carnists, worst in the world, then the ones that would have been convinced, it's going to be that much harder. And some of them, I want to know how many vegans are in the world that don't call themselves vegan because they think it's wrong to eat animals, but they don't want to be part of the group. And so I think that's why we should be kind, not because we could think we'll win over anti-vegans, but because the non-vegans will like listen to our thoughts more. So yeah.
Yeah, so I know Vegan Gains will actually criticize Earthling Ed a lot, and just like Earthling Ed will be doing those like interviews at the colleges, and then people will come up to him, and then they'll pretty much just rub it in his face, like, "Oh yeah, I love me. I'm gonna eat a steak when I get home." And Earthling Ed will continue to be nice to them and start talking about stuff, and Vegan Gains is like
Mhm.
criticizing him, like, "Bro, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Are you fucking retarded?"
Yeah.
So like some people think Earthling Ed just wastes time, and like
Mhm.
yeah, it does make it hard to watch Earthling Ed videos sometimes when some people are just being retarded while Earthling Ed's trying to have a civil conversation.
Yeah, well, and there's a difference between whatever we watch on the internet and how we feel about that versus real life. So I'm guessing all the people Earthling Ed talks to, half of them probably thought poorly about vegans. But when they go home after hearing Earthling Ed, I'm guessing all of them go, "Oh man, I met this really nice vegan." And so they're not vegan, they're not convinced, but this really nice, friendly person talked to them. And so the image of veganism isn't ruined in their head yet. And that's why this comment here, the comment left, he said he wonders if Vegan Gains has created more anti-vegans or created more vegans. And so even though you have a friend and there's probably a handful of people that have turned vegan because of Vegan Gains, I just wonder how many regular people that maybe wouldn't have thought much about vegans at all because they see Vegan Gains say stuff like, "Oh, I'm glad this bodybuilder that eats meat got cancer," and says kind of horrible sounding things. If it makes people go, in my head, I haven't known that I hate vegans. Kind of like some people hate cops and some people hate religious people and all these different things. Every added element to make somebody hate vegans is probably worse for the animals. But it's just a guess. I could be completely wrong. I mean, there is a reason people say all publicity is good publicity. So
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. Is I don't think Earthling Ed makes anti-vegans.
Oh, not Earthling Ed.
I mean,
Vegan Gains.
I know, but what I'm saying is, in that case, Earthling Ed is superior because he doesn't make any anti-vegans. So I feel like Earthling Ed is a safe approach for vegan activism. But the real question is, do some people need in your face kind of person like Vegan Gains who confronts you and for example, in my case, when I was being I don't know, I wasn't trying to be an asshole. I was just saying things, and then people interpreted me as an asshole, but it made them engage with me and understand my views.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like hard to decipher whether people need activists to be an asshole to get their attention, or if they need them all to be sugar, spice, and everything nice like Earthling Ed.
Yeah, I don't. It's tough because it's hard to put yourself in other people's shoes. I would just imagine that nobody's convinced to do anything by assholes. I don't think, or at least by them being an asshole. Now, by them being more abrasive, maybe, or them showing you worse information. So let's imagine a nice person like Earthling Ed just like being unwilling to show factory farm footage, but they'll just say like, "Hey, you should go vegan because animals shouldn't die," and they say it really nice. You could say that somebody that's willing to say these animals are getting their tails cut off and they're crammed into small cages and saying like these upsetting things, that the person saying the upsetting thing might turn more people vegan. But if the person saying the upsetting thing says these upsetting things and then they call the person a piece of shit and they say, you're so bad because you've spent 30 years of your life eating animals, and even if you stop eating animals, you can't make up for what horrible thing you did, but you should go vegan anyways. And like any element that's unneeded, that is rude or bad or just pointless, like having names for people, like calling them a carnist and all these kind of things. Again, I could be wrong. Somebody might hear somebody say that they're a piece of shit monster dirtbag and go, "Oh, I don't want to be that," and then go vegan.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing your average person, if they have enough people around them that love them and care about them that also eat meat, they're just going to think vegans are crazy. So
And that's the conclusion I'm coming down to, is just that most people are just little snowflakes, and they just get offended by what you say, and if you make them feel good, then they'll listen to you. But if you hurt their feelings, they'll just shun you and oh, I won't listen to your message because you're mean, which is unfortunate. I see that as very like unintelligent to do that, to close off the message just based on the messenger.
yeah,
I'll even like when these people come at me, I'm like, listen to what I'm saying, not how I'm saying it. That's what I always try to tell them. And they usually don't. So it makes me think like I'll probably have to retire being an asshole and start being more of a, I don't know, like Earthling Ed, I guess.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I did in a sense. I mean, I'm no earthling ed, but just as far as like in my early 20s, I was very like attacking people. Like I would post things on Facebook and say like, after watching this video, if you still consume animals, then I won't be your friend. And just kind of just like wild, like Gary Yourofsky, like don't hang out with your family members if they're not vegan type things. And then now I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just like friendly to everyone and saying like we're all vegans. Let's all be vegan. And so, yeah, we all change over time. Real quick, I want to ask in chat if Jerem's still there. Jerem, if you're still there, you should comment in here. But yeah, RC, I do got to hop off pretty soon. I might talk to Jerem for like 5 minutes if he's there. But yeah, did you have any last thoughts you wanted to chat about before we hop off here?
Not really. I was kind of just curious what you thought about the situation, activism, like if things hurt the movement. And I'm starting to think about it, and yeah, I feel like maybe I should retire being an asshole. And
yeah, I really do. I think you should. I mean, I think it's funny when you're calling people out. It cracks me up. And so if you wanted to make a YouTube channel where you're being entertaining, like a Vegan Gains type thing, then that's great. But I really think
I was making a YouTube channel where I go into butcher shops and troll them. So I actually made some of the videos, but I found out in California it's illegal to post private conversations, or to film private conversations. So I had to put them as unlisted. But I had them up for a little while, and they're getting good views. But once we found that out, we had to take it down. But it was pretty great. But I'd basically just go into butcher shops and like, yeah, do you think you can kill my dog? And I'd pick up my dog and
that's great. You should do that. Yes.
Well, I already did do that.
Okay. Did you film it?
What's that?
Did you filmed yourself doing that and got their reaction?
I edited it and posted it. Yeah.
Oh, I can see it now.
Well, no, it's unlisted now because we found out it's illegal to film public conversations. But yeah, if you're interested, I could send you just the videos.
Weird. I'll send you some information on that because I looked into it, and maybe it's filming public you can't, but recording audio. I know that if one of the parties involved are there, then you can record it. So if you call somebody on the phone and they don't know you're recording, it's fine as long as you know you're recording. So I don't know if it's different for that. Yeah, just Google recording conversations without the other person knowing. I looked it up for a video.
The editor I'm with, we're talking about like maybe blurring their faces, but it kind of just ruins the reaction to it. But
gotcha.
Yeah, I filmed a bunch of videos. Like we had, not all of them were vegan related. Like there's the best one I think was when I went to a gas station. I was like, yeah, I filled up my car with the cheaper gas, and now my car's not working. You know, the one with the green handle. And they're like, green handle? That's diesel.
That's awesome.
I'd be like, oh shit.
RC, I gotta hop off here, but hopefully we'll talk about Star Wars someday. And I gotta ask Jerem something here in a sec. But yeah, I'll talk to you later, and it's good talking to you, man. All right, take care.
All right, see you.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good, man.
Nice. I've been thinking about something that we talked about, and I've wanted to challenge you on this idea. And I only have like 5 or 10 minutes, but I was curious to hear your thoughts. So last time we talked about politics, and we talked about the Coconut Island thing, and the Vosh thing. And I was thinking about it. Do you think that employees should own part of the company because of the situation we're in financially? So what I mean by that is, imagine if in the U.S. we went with a UBI and every single adult got money from the government that was a living wage. Like AI was covering so many jobs and automation systems and whatnot. We're doing so many jobs that there weren't enough jobs for people, so everybody just got a living wage. Would you at that point say that it would be reasonable to let people own businesses where they get to choose the prices? They choose there's no minimum wage. They choose how much they pay their workers. They could make billions of dollars and it doesn't matter if they pay nothing out. Is the reason you want the workers to make money, to own part of the company, is because of our current financial setup?
So, I mean, our current financial setup certainly helps that. But I would, even in a world with like UBI, if you have workers, they deserve some representation.
Okay. Well, do you think the same thing with something like copyright? So, like in my mind, it makes sense to have copyright in our world. If I go and I record a Bob Dylan song, like a certain percentage of that will go to royalties because he wrote it, he has a copyright on it, because money matters in our society. But if money didn't matter in our society, I would think that anybody should be able to take any song and do a cover of it. Like you can't say I own words. Stephen King, my favorite book of all time, It. Imagine I didn't like the last chapter, which I do, but I think it would be totally fine for me to take that book and recopy it without the end and changing a couple things here and there and go, this is Carson's version of Stephen's It. And I could publish it and people can buy it or have it for free or whatever. In a world where money doesn't matter, I wouldn't think that kind of thing should matter. How do you feel about that one?
Well, the thing about songs is that oftentimes it's not just, Bob Dylan. It's, you have a group of writers, and then you have a group of producers and sound engineers, and they're all getting credit for their part of the song. Whereas in a company, the workers get very little credit, whereas they produce a large amount of the value. So yeah, it would be like it'd be like if the musician comes out and claims that he recorded the whole thing himself, even though he had 3 or 4 other, sound engineers, and he claims that he wrote the lyrics where, someone else wrote the lyrics. Yeah.
Well, I don't even mean to compare the being an employee that has partial ownership to making a song. I just meant to compare two things where money should affect things. Like the libertarian in me thinks that minimum wage shouldn't exist, but the person that recognizes that a society only functions if everybody can live well thinks that you have to create it if the humans in the society need money to survive. So in that sense, if they didn't need money, if money didn't exist anymore, then I don't think there should be a minimum wage. So if nobody had needed money, everybody was fine, the resources were crazy, but somebody owned a shop that sold CDs or something, and then they said, hey, you can work for me, and at the end of every week you get a free CD or something like that. There's no thought in my mind that would say there needs to be a system to make this work well, because what matters was the money for our living.
Yeah, I don't my view about like worker representation has kind of little to do with money.
Really? Okay.
It's a big, I mean, it within this economy, it's definitely a big aspect of it. Like worker representation is going to give us, give us more money. But in a world where, all our needs are taken care of, I still think there should be representation. It's more of like like an ethics thing. Yeah.
Okay. So and just real quick to go back over the copyright thing, but without it being compared, would you say that people should be able to copyright words if money has no value?
Should people be
Like having property rights makes sense. Like, I own this house, I own this guitar, this is my laptop. But to say the frog hopped over the cow, that I claim those words combined are mine. And if you sing them or you put them on paper and you trade them for green paper or trade them for a carrot, those are my words. Like, do you think anybody should be able to claim words are mine in a world where money doesn't matter? Because I definitely think so where money matters, but I haven't been convinced that they should be able to where money doesn't matter.
possibly. I like the idea of being able to copyright creative work. So not necessarily like copywriting words, but copywriting how words are used creatively. Although I'm not sure what I think about that, but I do like, I think I like the idea of copywriting creative works.
Okay. Yeah.
That way,
Yeah,
at
it's
least
interesting.
the creative person gets some credit for it.
I like the idea of the credit existing, but yeah, I just don't know about the ownership outside of the money. I'm trying to think of what the value would be. Like if I could record a song and put it on iTunes and Spotify and sell it, but where money didn't matter anymore, or it was like a song. What if the person's dead? Does it matter if the artist it was from like 100 years ago, or should the copyright still be just owned by whoever their descendants are?
Yeah, I'm not sure about dead. I've always kind of liked the idea that when that when someone dies, like eventually like I heard like Mickey Mouse is becoming public domain. I kind of like the idea that eventually something becomes public domain after a certain amount of time. But yeah, something that I guess to think about in like a moneyless society, with like copyright and ownership, it's like I think if I wrote a song and spent all this time working on it, and then someone can just like grab that audio file and then claim that they wrote it, I would have an issue with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the claiming that somebody wrote it, I guess in my mind, I'm thinking more so doing covers or something, or even doing a cover, but you change half the lyrics, or taking some book and these people took, what was it, Huck Finn, and removed all the N words out of it. And there's various different things. Like somebody can take Pride and Prejudice and make Pride and Prejudice and Zombies or whatever. I guess I just have this feeling that these set of words, like nobody can own them. It is a weird thought that somebody could just take this exact thing and say, oh no, I wrote this. And so I guess that's what the internet's for. People will call people out and there'll be documents of like, okay, this was written by this person. I mean, that's kind of how copyrights work anyways, is you point out that you're the first person to do this thing. But as far as can other people do it and can they get in trouble for it? I actually don't know if you can get in trouble. So you know how you do song covers and you have them on your channel, which anybody that doesn't know, go find Jerem's channel, and he's an amazing singer. But I think you're only in trouble if you're making money off of it. And if you're making money, you don't even have to get permission. Not that this is how it should be, but this is how it is. I think 11 cents out of every dollar goes to the artist if you make money on it, and it goes to like iTunes and that kind of stuff. So I guess maybe that's kind of aligned with what I'm thinking, where if there's no money to be made, then it doesn't matter if you cover it. Like, you don't need to get their permission. In a world, would you want the current law to change to make Well, how do you feel about you doing covers of singers? That just popped into my head. I don't mean any insult.
Yeah. Well, I think when I do covers and when most people do covers, it's pretty clear that it's a cover, right? Like we're giving credit to the original creator, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going on and saying here's with or without you by me, and just don't even mention you two. Yeah.
Well, it's like, what's the difference between doing a cover and making a movie of a book or something, where like you're not claiming it's yours. It's like this is the book. I'm just having people say the words from the book.
Well, can you rephrase the question? I'm not sure what
Yeah.
you're
So like, if I
asking.
went out, if I got some cameras and found some actors, and I was going to go make a movie, and I made a movie, some Stephen King book or something. I would similar to doing a cover. Like it's just a bunch of people taking something that's written and making their own version of it, but in a different art form style. And so they're not putting out the words and saying it's my words. In the credits, it'll say based on a Stephen King book. But like legally, you couldn't make money off of it. So would you view that kind of like music, where it's like anybody should go do it and it can become popular if it's free, but if you try to make money off of it, it's not?
I don't really have an issue with people making, movies based off of books or, doing song covers. And I'm not sure about like the money aspect. I think, I mean, I guess within our society, like money plays a huge role, but what I care mostly about is just like when the movie rolls or starts playing, it says based on this book. That's kind of what I care mostly about.
Yeah. Okay.
That the original artist gets credit. And then because of how like our modern society works with money, they should probably get some compensation for it as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, cool. It's something I definitely want to think about more. And if you think of different ideas on it and want to talk about it more at some other time, I think that'd be cool. But yeah, I just I've been thinking about like how money affects things, and like if the things that matter for well-being, I guess I in a large way agree with you on the well-being is kind of what matters in life. If everybody's well-being is covered, then what else matters? Like does it matter if somebody chooses to work for somebody for very little? Does it matter if somebody rips off somebody's artistic endeavors? And so,
well,
yeah.
I think it does. Yeah, I would say that's the reason it matters.
Which reason?
The well-being, like not
because
having,
like
not
emotionally
having,
it could harm somebody or something.
yeah, I mean, even like even without money, you could still it could still lead to sort of these like slavery type scenarios.
Okay.
Where you can ask them like, hey, like I really like your music. Can you, make this the song about trees or whatever, and then you put all this work into making the song about trees, and then they take your song and claim it as theirs. It's like you just put all this work in and got no credit for it, and yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna think this over. But yeah, sorry for having you hop on and me having to hop off. But I've been thinking about that and wanted to ask you about that. But yeah, I'm on tomorrow at noon PST. I'm going to be talking with your buddy Travis. So I don't know if you're free, but it's going to be an abortion discussion between him and my buddy Harley. Harley is pro-life 100%, and then I'm sure Travis is at Sentience, so 12 weeks. And so I'm going to kind of facilitate that conversation. So yeah, if you want to hop on, then we'll see you then.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. Take care, man.
Thanks.